We've got a couple atheists. I've got a theistic caller. I'd like to Seth, take hold. There's someone here called a believer that wants to know how much you believe in the global flood. Hello, a believer. Are you there?
Hello, hello.
Hey, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
What
Uh,
can we do for you?
yes.
What would you like to talk about?
Oh, I would like to know how much do you believe in a global flood?
How much do I believe in well, I don't believe there was ever a global flood, and that's based on an overwhelming avalanche of geological and meteorological evidence that say it not only did not, but could not happen.
Okay, I would like to challenge you to a debate for $1 million. If you win, I, I pay
No,
you
no,
a
no. I'm
million
going to need to
dollars.
see some bank statements. Like before I agree, I need to know that you're in the seven figures and can make good on this debate.
Yeah, the way to challenge any of us to a debate is to go over to our primary website and fill out a form requesting a debate. Um, if you want to just talk about the issue, you can talk about that here and now.
I use the money.
I want to know, right. I want to know whether you're willing to debate for money.
I debate for money for a living. It's my job. I've been doing it for 15, almost 20 years.
Would you
Okay,
be kind enough
I
to
can.
would you be kind enough to offer up a few of your debate points in advance? I mean, I am curious. What are your proofs? What's your evidence for the global flood?
Oh, that will be determined by the debate.
Okay, well, this is not the forum for that. So if you're not willing to have the discussion here, we're just going to let you go. And thanks for wasting our time.
Well, since you can stand for your belief, that will be fine too.
Since I can't stand for my belief. So you're calling in to one of the most prolific debaters, both in call in shows and in live debates in the history of atheism in the modern world. And you're going to pretend that after I told you exactly what you needed to do to schedule a debate so that I could defend my views, when actually you're the one that has the view that you're going to be defending, which is the notion that a global flood occurred. And now you want to pretend as if I can't or won't defend my beliefs. I can pretty much
You
guarantee. Shut up. I can pretty much guarantee a believer, Mr. Pseudonym, calling in to absolutely do nothing but waste our time, that you would not fare well in a debate with me. Goodbye.
can you
Nope. Nope, I can't.
Did I hear you won't debate me so I win? Because I was catching that vibe.
It was very
And
much a, yeah.
$1 million. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of the last time I met an independently wealthy layperson apologist calling these types of shows. I feel rather honored.
It's weird.
Sadly, I would
I would do it.
you would
I
have the
mean,
debate. I
oh yeah.
love the global flood story. It's funny when people talk to me about the Bible, and if we are getting into the points, the specific issues. I don't start with Jesus. I don't start with Adam and Eve. I always start with Noah's Ark because it's a gift to the counter apologetic. I mean, it's just a gift. There's so much wrong with it. Not only is it debunked by geology, meteorology, all credible scholarship, but the story refutes itself. I mean, the story itself is impossible. And so to be able to go through point by point by point is actually for me it's kind of enjoyable, and there's a lot of utility in going after the global flood story, and then we can tie it into the other earlier Sumerian legends beyond Epic of Gilgamesh, etc., and how these were again back to genre gods, and most of these deities and faith traditions had a flood myth. And it's not that they were stolen; it was just part of the culture. It was almost expected in many areas of that region. I don't know. It's interesting. Noah's Ark has always been kind of fun for me post Christianity.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because there are a number of Jewish and Christian scholars that tend to view the flood narrative, um, despite the language to like flood all the world. They view that as kind of like hyperbole for a local flood that took out, a particular region. And if you have a local flood, well, it's not nearly as impressive, and nor does it need a particular explanation, because weird things happen. But to flood the entirety of the earth, there are a number of different proposed creationist ways. Like there's a vapor canopy or a runaway subduction, uh, but there is no creationist model that can both account for that I'm aware of. Happy to debate you. I want you don't have to do it for $1 million. For $1 million, I would debate anybody on the planet, including actual fascist pieces of shit who I said I wouldn't debate again. I mean, $1 million that could do wonders for the line and the mission, and maybe even get me out of debt. Uh, and who knows? But like, if you look at the claim of the potential for like subduction, um, even those models don't work. Even if you only look at the science, um, you'd have to change like the viscosity of water, uh, all kinds of. I mean, it requires some sort of miracle. And if you set aside the science and just look at the history, you now have ancient civilizations that are moving along at a particular pace, and then there's a global flood that none of them seem to notice, and then the floodwaters recede, and then we're interacting with those same civilizations again. I- It's it's preposterous, and
Oh, dude. One of the best ones I ever heard was from this online apologist. Nephilim Free was his name. This must have been
yeah,
12, 13 years ago. And he
I
claimed
remember the
that the,
name.
the craters of the moon were created when water ejected from the force of the flood on Earth flew through space and struck the moon. And this is why the moon has craters today. I mean, it was just awesome. It was just an
That's
awesome
like the
argument.
origin for Silver Surfer or something. Uh, we shot a beam of water from Earth at the moon many times, which is why there's craters.
Yeah.
Yes, Galactus's herald was there during the global flood. For me, it's funny you mentioned that Noah is one of the ones that you go to because the flood story um, has its own absurdities. But you and I have both gone through and done a number of different. Look at all this crazy shit in the Bible stuff. Even the first talk that I did, actually all versions of the talk that I did in Australia were kind of along those lines. In addition to the flood, there's the sun standing still in the sky. There's um, you know, uh, wow, what was I getting right? Oh, um, I go to slavery from a moral aspect of what the Bible is clearly, obviously wrong about, and yet still I have Christians falling over and breaking their backs and twisting themselves into knots to try to make it sound like the Bible isn't okay with slavery, or it was, but it's not now, or it kind of is. And so that's a great example where there's something in the Bible for which I'm not aware of there being any sort of moral evaluation of, other than the Bible is wrong. And Noah's flood is one of those along the science, as is the entirety of the creation story. It doesn't get the events right. Um, but the potential uh, cures for diseases where you've got to kill a bird and drain it out over moving water and doing this and all of these things. It's it's not enough to just say, "Hey, these were written by ancient people and they got it wrong." That's fine if you're just talking about a storybook. But if you're talking about a book that's supposedly inspired by the all knowing, all powerful, sustaining creator of the universe, then there shouldn't be stories in the Bible that are obviously bullshit. I mean, and there shouldn't be anything that's particularly confusing. It should be straightforward. Like, if I was God and I had a message for everybody, not only would I not reveal it to one group of ancient people or write it down in a language or languages that change and die out, but I would have had that message be clear and updated and revised. There's no reason to even try and hide any of that. You just interact with the people you're supposed to care about. Why isn't God interacting with us, Seth?
I hide and seek champion of the universe, I guess. And it's funny because a lot of the crazy shit that people like to refer to as Old Testament, right? The Old Testament is God's a maniac and things are wacky. But in the New Testament, that's when it's all love and light and things begin to settle down. And I'm like, I think one of my favorite New Testament examples of absurdity that really it's indefensible, and yet the apologists attempt to defend it is when Christ died on the cross, the graves of the saints are ripped open, and then he is resurrected, and the saints crawl out of their graves and walk the streets of Jerusalem.
Yep.
Not one contemporary historian thought this was notable enough to chronicle for posterity. And nobody thought, zombies. That's something we should probably make a part of the record. Nobody did it, you know. I always like to bring that example up as well when I'm speaking to apologists.
And like a subscriber, Jimmy will have to go on a polyamorous dating show to win some prize money.
Wait, I want to do that. So also hit like and subscribe, and then go to patreon.com/calltheline. I was trying to make you laugh and ruin the take. That's why that silly face earlier. If I was on a polyamorous dating show, I would just choose everybody. Except Frederick. Leave a comment.